Hiya. It's me, and just wanted to give you an update. It's October, what is it? October 6th. So happy birthday, Beverly. It's my mom's birthday, and yesterday was Tyler's birthday. I'd recorded something yesterday, but as I think is going to be the case lately, I am going to really be careful about just making sure that what I put out there is, just what the Lord would have me put out. And, you know, some of this is going to be, I'm going to be transparent with you. But I want to make sure that my flesh isn't, too fleshy. So second round of chemo went better, i.e. I didn't have a reaction. They went ahead and kept everything the same as last time, pre-meds on board, and they kept the drip really, really slow, which is what they had altered before, which meant that it was a really long run on the Toxil, which is the chemo. So that takes about 2 hours to run in to me. So that's kind of a thing, but it's okay. And the good news is I didn't have a reaction. Also had a really great conversation with my physician in the morning. He had made time to talk through everything. And what's really great, and part of the reason we felt so strongly about seeing him, was he's a believer, which we knew going in. And so part of our conversation not only was, just about how I want to be dealt with in terms of, realities and statistics. Like, don't list everything off like a GlaxoSmithKline commercial, right? Like, don't, side effects could include, blah, 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 blah. Like, I need to know reality, and deal with me in those terms. But also, we were just talking about how, there is kind of this fine line between the knowable and the unknowable, and medicine being an art, not a science, which it's refreshing to have somebody in the medical community acknowledge, right, these days. And, so we were just talking about that. And, I said, well, here's the thing, as a believer, right, like, it's hard to weigh out where do I, put my head to work and my knowledge and being able to go look at studies and kind of know what, and you guys cite statistics, and one day the statistic is a low statistic to make me feel better, and then the next day when it happens, it's that happens all the time, right? And so and he said, here's the deal, Kathy, for what is knowable, for sure, God gave you a mind, gave us, minds and knowledge and things to know, and what's knowable we can know. And that's really great. For everything else, right, that's where faith comes in, and trusting the Lord. And so that was a really great conversation. And so I think that's what we've really been trying to balance, and where I really felt like the Lord has been leading us with all of these things, right? With every decision we've made, we felt like the Lord has been really ahead of us on all of these things. Don't regret any of the decisions we've made so far. So anyway, so that was really good. And it's really important and good for us to have a physician that approaches this like that. So anyway, so that was really good, but it was a very emotional week. Sunday was emotional before chemo on Monday, because we had celebrated the life of my cousin Rusty, who died over a year ago. Well, almost a year ago. It hasn't been a year yet. Some of you may remember walking that with us. He was in Baptist Hospital in Winston for over a month. They did not know what was wrong with him. Mystery, disease, diagnosis, whatever. They couldn't figure it out. Turns out, like, they were ready to treat him for lymphoma, like ready to pull the trigger on that, and then came in that day and said, oh, just kidding. Actually, it's a brain-eating amoeba. So anyway, just really, really hard stuff. And so we finally celebrated his life on Sunday, but I was responsible for a lot of that service. And it was just very emotional. It was emotionally draining, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Spiritually, because we don't know if Rusty was a believer. There was an amazing testimony, though, while I was in the hospital with him, praying over him and praying for him. And it sounds like Dave's coming in, so sorry, you're going to hear him in the background. Where I was praying over him with a nurse and stuff, and there was a lot of spiritual warfare going on, because Rusty had been raised in an environment, particularly in his older years where the household had really denied Christ. And so anyway, but the Lord just kind of settled that. And in the morning, the Lord just answered prayers. Like Rusty woke up and we had some conscious moments with him where he was like speaking, and he had not spoken in 2 weeks. And so just really neat testimony of faith there. But anyway, so I like cried myself to sleep on Sunday night before chemo, and it had just been a really hard, time. And so chemo was, I was really responding kind of, already I was in a bad place emotionally. And probably it's just overdue, right? I haven't really had a lot of emotion around a lot of this lately, so probably just overdue. So it was just kind of an emotional week again. But even the Lord is ahead of us on that. Last night, some of you may know from Still Creek, our dear friend Chris Shields, but she brought this really precious, sweet bottle of tears, and it says, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have affected all my tears." Collected all my tears in a bottle. You have recorded each one in your book. Psalm 56:8. And so just a reminder to those of us who are struggling or, sad that he does collect our tears and they're a treasure to him. And so whatever you're going through, don't deny those tears, right? That's really important. And actually, I've read somewhere and heard that that the Lord designed our bodies, that the tears actually help cleanse our bodies from hormones and stuff that are toxic and that need to kind of get out. So if you're not a crier, maybe try it out sometime. But anyway, so just really emotional from that perspective. And poor Dave, bless, he's like, "Do you want to talk about it or just need to cry?" And I'm like, "I don't know." So anyway, so Monday went better. Tuesday, I felt pretty good. We had some doctor's appointments on Tuesday that Mom took me to, and I felt good. Wednesday was really hard for me because I didn't feel good, but I didn't feel terrible. And so this is where it's really going to be a challenge, I think, going forward, is understanding this chemo fatigue. And this is what I kind of want to just bring to you, kind of what the Lord was talking to me today about, and maybe what he's even giving me the opportunity to understand, both about this for other people, who are going through this. And if you've been through chemo, like, you get it. Apparently, I was talking to a nurse about it, and chemo like I've got, where it's really not targeted chemo, but it's like kind of killing all the good things too, just behaves this way. And so it's just really bizarro. She was just kind of explaining that to me. And so if I'm not like knocked on my butt, I feel like I should be pressing through and like really doing things, but my brain's not really working and my body feels weird, and had nausea for the first time this week. And so just kind of torn with the shame and the guilt of not like pushing through. But then I wake up today and I feel really good. And so I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So totally, I felt like crap, the past 2 days. Right. But then I get, I decide, oh, I'm going to clean up the kitchen. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I get a bunch of stuff done, and I'm ready to hit my like legit to-do list, and I'm wiped out. So it's stuff like that. Right. But the thing I hadn't done, even though I was like listening to sermons, or even yesterday and Wednesday when I was not feeling great, I wasn't stopping and taking time with the Lord like I have in the past. Partly my prayer closet, I really haven't done it like I really, really used to. And it's because for some reason my prayer closet just is the place where I can go where there's no distraction, like no distractions. But Texas, I didn't have it, right? And then I came back and I physically couldn't really get in there very easily. So, I would sit and, read the word, whatever, but just not that really, really amazing time hearing from the Lord. And so I did get in there one day a couple weeks ago, even after the flood. I just sat on the cement floor and the mess and the chaos. But then anyway, so today, the Lord was like, "Kathy," and he even told me exactly what book to go get. And so I finally sat down, and I just want to read to you the book he told me to go get. This is the passage it fell open to, and I just want to kind of focus on this now. This is from a book called Freely and Lightly, God's Gracious Invitation to a Life of Quiet Confidence by Emily Lex. Sometimes it just feels easier to trust in ourselves, to rely on our own ability, effort, and vision for how things should go, doesn't it? Even if it's not quite as fruitful, self-reliance is much less risky. We can be just like those kiddos in the pool. She had told a story about our kids in swimming lessons, right? And how they like would flail around and not like listen to the teacher. Our ability is limited, our knowledge incomplete, our energy wasted with flailing efforts. All the while, a strong, well-intentioned teacher stands at our side, seeing the full picture and offering to show us how best to live. If only we'd just stop all the unnecessary striving. She goes on to say, I was shaken by the picture God gave me in a journal of me treading water and refusing his help. As much as I truly believed in the person of God, it was clear I didn't trust that his way was better than mine. My heart was divided between faith in Jesus and faith in myself, and the indecision was not working out in my favor. His offer for real rest was exactly what I needed. So I knew right away, sometimes it just feels easier to trust in ourselves or to rely on our own ability, effort, and vision for how things should go. Right? And even in the days that I've been like kind of just not had the energy to do much or even brain power, I would say, all right, well, Lord, okay, I'm not going to go like sit with you, or I'm not going to open my Bible. I'm just going to listen to a sermon, or I'm just going to, right? And it doesn't replace just sitting with him. And I just, sat and talked to him about it. And, the very first thing I pick up, right, he's just like, the second I get still, you speak. And all along you've been calling me here. And I've been inclined to come, and yet I don't. And I make excuses for it's the space, right? And I don't have a place and all those things, but that's always going to be the case. And so making sure that I remember that the peace and the rest is only found in his presence. And knowing that getting to know him and hearing his voice is the place, right? And he's continuing to bring me to a place, now even more physically, literally physically, where I don't have a choice, and yet I do, right? And she goes on, to point out that we have this opportunity to trust him, kind of like the kids in the pool. We have the opportunity to trust the teacher, to trust and to let go. And he's reaching out, and we have this opportunity to trust him and to see who he is. And I know that's what I want to do, right? That's been my desire all during this journey, for sure. And I turned the page, or he turned the page, I don't know. I ended up flipping to another section in the book where I had a marker. But what was profound about that is that I went this week to pick out bald girl glasses because, I'm going to be bald. And so I have a few ways to accessorize, guys, like my hats, my earrings, and my glasses. And so we picked out some kind of crazy glasses. But can you just see what is on this page? And the question becomes, even in this kind of section where the Lord invites us to remember that He is our freely and lightly. He wants to take the burden off of us. Matthew 11, I'm just going to read it, right? Matthew 11, 28 through 30. And the message says, "Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. And obviously we know the other version of that is, come to me all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. It's not to say that life doesn't have effort or hard things, right? Or suffering or any of those things, but that we watch him, and we do it as he does it. Not our self-reliance, not the way we think it should be done, but how he does it. And Emily points out that one of the, for checklist people, and I mean I am, that we have our ways of doing things, and some of that is works-based, but remembering that if we watch Christ's pattern, it's in his model of prayer and fasting, scripture reading, celebration, community. We do not forsake the assembly of the saints. Just want to remind you, never again will you do that. Never again will you do that. Silence and solitude, among other things. But these exercises work to strengthen our minds, hearts, and souls, and deepen our love and our relationship with God. The disciplines aren't the point, right? Although it is a discipline and there's effort in that, but it's about that relationship. I love this quote though. Jesus offers us eternal salvation and the promise that we will live with him forever. But he also set up a way for us to live life abundantly now, where insecurity and anxiety are traded for confidence and peace, where we no longer depend on our own futile efforts, but instead fall in step with his unending rhythms of grace. By adopting his cadence, something beautiful happens. Our vision of who we are, who God is, and what a truly satisfying life looks like begins to line up with Jesus's vision of the same thing. So I just noticed as I saw those glasses, just, that God's giving me the opportunity to interrupt my life. I mean, he's kind of interrupting my life anyway, right? With a stillness that is not chosen necessarily, but even in that stillness, even in those days that I don't have the energy to do other things, how am I going to choose to spend those moments? And make space to breathe, uncover, process, ponder, and find answers. Because I want to begin to see him and his rhythms. And I don't want to miss this opportunity. And even in the busyness of your life, find the time. Take the time. Jesus did. He was busy. He had thousands clamoring for his attention. And he took the time. It's a choice we have to make to find the rhythms of grace and solitude. I also love Isaiah 30:15. This is what the sovereign Lord says. The Holy One of Israel says, "Only in returning to me and resting in me will you be saved. In quietness and confidence is your strength." So you can hold me accountable to that in these days, especially the days that are hard, that I don't understand why I'm good 15 minutes and bad another 15 minutes, but to sit and to hear from him and to drop you on your head. So there's your update for October 6th. And thanks for sticking with me. I hope that this was encouraging to you. And my goal is only to encourage and to be real and to let you know that, chemo brain, and chemo fatigue is a real thing. And I just appreciate all the prayer support, and my family does, and the food, and the just anything that your family is doing for ours is appreciated. And it definitely appears that the symptoms are going to stack a little bit. So we're doing things. I'm going to the integrative wellness clinic, and we're going to see what we can do to mitigate some of that. But we just appreciate you and all that you're doing for us, but especially praying being the number one thing. Continue to be in prayer for my friend Maddie and my friend Zach. Zach goes for his surgery next week at Duke. So please watch my Facebook page for updates for Zach and his Caring Bridge updates. And I just thank you so much for your prayer support for them, because again, these are some young warriors and amazing believers, and God is shaping their story and helping them to learn how to just be joyful in tribulation as well. And so just really excited to see what God's going to do for them. So thank you again, and just cling to the scripture and cling to the word. And the world is getting darker and darker, but that means that the light in you and I is getting brighter and brighter. So do not be afraid, for he has overcome the world. And Isaiah 41:10, there it is.